confirmed that they don't have VOC readings or laboratory test results from the 31 bins of VOC contaminated soils that were safely disposed of in 2016, in accordance with their regulations. As discussed with them, other than the waste manifest, which already have been shared with the CAG and the SOC, we're not able to identify further data at this time. We have included this in our request with our county to obtain information from CAG, hoping that they have something and share that as well. So that's where we are with that. Community opinion survey results, that has been a topic as well. The community opinion survey reports are in the end stages of development and review. And we thank the community advisory members who were involved in developing the survey. And in about 2 weeks, we'll be sharing the final draft of the reports, with these members to solicit any additional comments prior to sharing the reports more broadly with the community. The CAG and the broader community continue to and will play an important role in informing the health study and giving input to the SOC as they define the priorities and goals. Again, you all have a chance to give feedback on that once they have a draft ready. And then we look forward to continuing working with you all in 2021. I do want to, however, go over a couple of things, just given some of the recent flurry of emails, related to the health study and some rumors that have been raised. So first, the SOC charter. Over a number of months, the SOC helped provide input and development on what has been asked to sign a charter, which includes information related to confidentiality clauses. Establishing this charter is actually necessary for the SOC to play a key role in developing and part of the process of developing the RFP, and to ensure that a sound research solicitation process that doesn't bestow any potential vendor with an unfair advantage in the proposal submission and evaluation processes. This is a standard practice. It's very common in the field of research where professional service vendors are competing for a body of work from a government agency. And we're following public health best practices and government best practices in advancing the charter. To date, 13 of 15 members have signed that charter. So just to clarify around that. The SOC conflict of interest, the Scientific Oversight Committee is composed of an esteemed group of independent experts, with input from the SOC, be added to that initial group that was identified in the consent decree. And they have diverse areas of expertise. Each of them had to submit a conflict of interest statement and are required to immediately notify public health of any actual or potential conflicts of interest, including relationships with Sempra Energy and SoCalGas. And that is something that was signed by all members, at the start of their acceptance for being a SOC member. Community engagement, does, again, as I mentioned earlier, remain a key component. However, it's being adapted to meet the needs that we have related to the research solicitation phase of the study, and we'll be broadening our outreach efforts and developing relationships directly with individuals. In fact, the community through the neighborhood councils to ensure that there's a broader community voice and some questions are being answered that have been raised by them as well. And that voice continues to inform the processes that are moving forward to develop the final solicitation for the RFP, which will go out and independent researchers will apply based on the priorities that are identified. And they will be independent researchers who do the study. Again, as many of you know, CAG, public health is not doing the research. We're just helping to oversee the process for the development of the RFP that will be used to solicit researchers to apply and do the research for the area. So with that, I will stop and turn it back over to you, Susan.
Great, thank you, Dr. Davis. To open up the floor to the CAG members. If there's any CAG members that would like to ask any questions of Dr. Davis or any comments, if you could raise your hand either virtually or live, or note in the chat that you'd like me to unmute you, I will do so. Not seeing, oh, I see Patty. So it'll ask you to unmute yourself and allow you to do that.
Okay, I'm having several problems here with some of the statements, but one in particular is the about DPH members going to the NC meetings and supposedly updating members of the community. And I went to 2 of those meetings in December, and the only thing that I heard from them was a complete rehashing of what happened in 2015 and a description of how the study came to be through the consent decree. And when people were asking questions, both of these members were not able to answer. And the feedback I was getting from community members was that they felt this was a lawyer-driven statement that couldn't be deviated. And I think some of them did feel very insulted by this. So that's something that needs to be addressed. And we're wondering why we're not, why all these committees are going to be disbanded or stopped for now when there's so many issues such as the chemical list that are still going on that we have not had any resolution on. So this is something that's very important to the community and very important to each of us on the CAG. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Chris, I don't know if you want to talk about the meetings with PNCs, but I'll touch upon the subcommittees again. So, as I mentioned, for the data related to, the chemical list and any other existing environmental data, we engage with county and county council to figure out what options are there, and we continue to work on that. And again, as we get updates, we'll definitely let you know. But at this point, there's not much that we have that we can do, and we're following what's needed and giving advice from our leadership in terms of how to go about that. But it's not, it's been raised some time ago about, public health and subpoena power, but that's not our decision. And so it's out of our hands in relationship to that piece. However, as I mentioned, we are going to, we've added that request for additional information that, the county's trying to get from SoCal Gas. And so as we get updates on that, we'll definitely be able to get that out to you, but it doesn't require the subcommittees to do that. Chris, did you want to touch upon anything related to the neighborhood councils? I hear the feedback, but did you want to touch upon that at all?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey everyone, Chris is here. So yeah, we did give updates. Christina Vega, who is the community engagement specialist for this project, and sometimes I was on and sometimes other project members were on as well. We were trying to go around in December and just give an update on the study. And we know that there are many community members who may not know all the details and background on this particular initiative on the health study. So we did want to make sure that we provided that background information to everyone that we were speaking to in the neighborhoods. So that's kind of why we had kind of more of a broad take on the information that we were providing, just making sure that we were covering our bases and that people were aware of the blowout and everything that happened afterwards, and then how that culminated into the health study and what the plans were for that.
And thanks, Patty, for your comment. We'll make sure that that is taken into account for future updates to the NCs. And looks like Andrew has a comment. So Andrew, I just asked you to unmute.
Yeah, hi everybody. This is going to be long-winded, so just be ready. Chris, as a response to what you just said, I appreciate what you said. I certainly acknowledge there are a number of community members who don't know kind of what's going on, but I take great exception as does other members of the CAG and other members of the community, with the fact that the recounting that is given at the NC meetings is a whitewashing of the actual process. I'll give you just one example for this call. In your year-end newsletter, and what was, I believe, presented at the NCs, you indicate the SOC is made up of 15 members of nationally renowned members. What is not mentioned at all is that DPH had no intention of having any more than 7 members, because that's what's in the consent decree. But the CAG fought on behalf of the community to have a majority of independent minds in the group. We had to go to battle for a significant amount of time, but ultimately that's what we settled on. 15 total, 7 from the consent decree, 8 independent. And then the CAG, the members themselves, went out and solicited themselves, I think, 6 of the 8. That would have been truly being transparent with the community as to the evolution of that group, which is what you said you guys were aiming to do, which is inform from the blowout through now what has transpired. It is those kinds of information gaps that the community is aware of that continues to foster a complete mistrust of this group. I want to comment that I'm very happy there are 90 people on this meeting today. Thank you to the public for showing up. 15 minutes of public comment, which is at no more than 15 of those people, is just insulting to them, who gave up at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, their afternoon, to attend. So I think it's very important we hear from the community. Dr. Davis, in your updates, I did not hear anything regarding the radiation testing that was done, I believe, now more than 2 months ago. Obviously a grave concern to the community, and I can only assume the report is sitting on the lawyer's desk waiting to be reviewed. But where is that? The public at large has been requesting, as has the CAG, the accounting for the health study. I believe we are almost at 4 months from that request, and I didn't hear an update about that either. I would like you to provide that. Let's see. Going to quarterly meetings, I think, is insulting. There is clearly work to do. There is no reason for DPH to stop, start getting the CBC data from Quest and starting to do that work. There is a lot here. And I got to tell you, it feels very much like the opinion of the community really, truly doesn't matter. And I can comment to the public so they know. The CAG has spent an inordinate amount of time, and I would argue more time than public health has, working the health study on your behalf. And you can see now how the CAG and yourselves are being treated. It's very sad. It continues to harm the community at large, and it did not need to be this way. Thank you.
All right, Andrew. So I'll try to go through each of those. If something, let me know. In terms of the budget, we are going through. We've just had another conversation with finance as they're getting it together. Asked for an estimate in